I get a vibe. Like, your eyes and your mannerisms say you're adventurous, but like the facts of your life say I follow the rules. And I hope you really don't follow all the rules.
I'm adventurous, but like I have like responsibilities, you know? You already finished your drink?
So what?
You already finished your drink?
I mean, so did you.
I know.
Are you implying we should get another one? Oh my goodness. I already know you guys are bad news.
Wait, what?
I already know you guys are bad news now. We've known you for like 2 minutes. We're already doing tequila shots together. You're way too cute. Every time you look so cute and innocent, I want to trust you. And then you smile at me in this way where I'm like, I should never.
What? You can trust me?
Uh-huh.
You can trust me. Makes me happy.
I think you're very cute as well. Although we can't fall in love, okay? We're just not.
Yo, no, I swear, I'm the same way. Like we can't fall in love. It's a red flag.
It's a weird way of saying it, but if there was like 2 pills I could give you, one makes you super horny, and one makes you like not care about any social consequences. Somehow it doesn't make you lose your judgment. You're still as cool as you normal are, and as normal as you normally are. You guys would get laid, because it would make you do approaches, not give a shit, and it would make you try in those approaches. It would make you not just let the girl walk off. You'd be like, no, I want this girl, I will ask for her number. And no, I want this girl, I will follow up with her. And no, I want this girl, I will try and take her on an Insta date instead of just settling for a number. As I've been talking to you guys and debriefing you guys throughout the weekend, there's one theme that's come up a lot, which I want to reiterate, and then a couple themes that like kind of branch out from it, that kind of build on it. Basically, the way I'll put it to you is that in order to have good game, or in order to have like really high level success with women and approaching, there's essentially 3 components that you need to have, okay? First component is desire. You have to fucking want it, right? We talked a little bit about that. We'll talk some more about that. Second thing is there's an element of technique. You have to kind of know a few things to do. You have to have some like, you know, moment to moment correct things so that you're conveying yourself in a high value way, so that you're moving the conversation in the right direction, those kind of things. And then the third thing you need is strategy. You need an overall plan. If you get those 3 elements in place, you're going to be very, very successful. Now, one of the reasons why the focus is on, or has been so far, on desire first and foremost is because desire has to come before the other 2. Without the desire to do the approach and then the action that comes from it, the technique in the approach doesn't do you any good. And without the desire to do the approach, the strategy of what to do once the girl likes you, you're never getting there, and so you can't apply it. All right, so the reason that there was a lot of focus on that early on is because that is step 1, right? The next thing is technique, right? Taking that desire, taking that push towards, I want to have sex, I want to have a great relationship, I want a wonderful woman in my life, and not just being a blind ball of desire, but doing it in more of a surgical way, right? And if we look at the things we did, exercises on day 1, right? To be offering value instead of asking questions. That's technique. A couple of you guys, we've had conversations around coming up with things to say that are good in gaming. Like, you see a thing, what's good about it, what's bad about it, turning it into a push-pull, right? Or taking observations and saying, if this is true, what else is true? And finding the formats for teases. That's an example of technique, okay? And the good thing is, with enough desire, you will learn the technique. Even when I played sports, I was a nerd. I was a nerd athlete. And so I would get like the study at home videos, and I would do like the drills in my driveway, or I'd go out in my backyard and juggle the soccer ball and you know, do these ball control moves and stuff like that. And at first it doesn't make a difference, but you do it enough times and suddenly you do a move in a game without even realizing you did it. Right? And that's what I want you guys to get from practicing more technically, or from going over your sets, or from when we break down the footage in a little bit here. We're going to learn the techniques, right? So I want you to have that sort of nuance and that extra bit of charisma that's going to set you apart from other guys. We're at clubs like, you know, Friday, Saturday night, right? A lot of guys in those clubs don't have a lot of game, but they have a lot of desire, and they're drinking alcohol, so their foot's completely off the brake, right? And from that, and then from, again, the years of social experience that they have, like even through their drunken state, they're going to get some amount of results. So if those guys go out often enough, they will eventually get a result. But where you start adding technique, that's where you start setting yourself apart from those guys, right? Without desire, you could be worse than those guys, right? But with desire and technique, you're a level above those guys. Does that make sense? So that's where technique starts to fall in, and that's where I want you to be there. But if you have a choice between desire without technique or technique without desire, desire all day long. Your biggest criteria for success in game is, did I do the best by myself? Right? In a very weird Zen-like kind of way. This is kind of weird. Because you want to, on the one hand, be very horny and care about the girl. On the other hand, philosophically, your biggest success is like doing what was right by you. If you can walk away from game and be like, did I act through like genuine self-love, genuinely looking out for myself and my future, and not just getting laid tonight, but getting laid in the future from my horniness? If you can really say that, then that was a successful night. Right? I'll tell you an interesting perspective on this as actually a father now, which is that like a lot of people are very hard on themselves in a way they would never be if they had children or never be on their children. The question I have for myself now as a father is, am I treating myself with the level of love, respect, and encouragement, and also desire for growth that I would give to my child? Right? Am I treating myself that way? Am I treating myself as a good father to myself? Right? And I think that's a really good way of looking at it. Right? Am I giving myself the appropriate challenges to help myself grow, but in a loving way, to also make my life experience as good as possible? And that's what you want to create for yourself. And that's the balance and the zen of it all. Right? But in the end, if there isn't desire for actual outcome, desire for actual success, there's no motivation. Right? There's no motive force. Right? Do you have any, this is the last weird metaphor for this, do you have any computer programmers in here? You do? Okay, do you know the parable of Buridan's donkey? Do you know what that is? You don't know that? It's very esoteric even for that field, but yeah.
I feel like if you maybe describe it, I might.
So he was a philosopher and early computer scientist named John Buridan, and he had this parable of Buridan's donkey. And the donkey basically, it's sitting here, and it has a huge amount of oats on one side and a huge trough of water on the other side, but it's both hungry and thirsty. And so each time it's about to go take a bite of the oats, it's like, no, I'm actually more thirsty than hungry. And then it goes like over, it's like, oh no, actually more hungry than thirsty. It keeps going back and forth, and it can't decide which it wants more until it dies of hunger and thirst. Right? That would never actually happen with a real human being. It could happen with a computer where if its inputs were like, if there was no way for it to actually get out of a recursive loop, right? But the idea is like it comes down to desire. Without desire, there's not action. If you don't want the oats strongly enough to eat them, you don't eat them. If you don't want the water strongly enough to just put it above all else, you don't do anything. So at a given moment, you have to decide this is the thing, and you have to make that action with no fucking, no second thoughts. Right? There's a thing they say like, you can think about fucking the girl before you fuck her, you can think about fucking her after you fuck her, but during, you just fuck the shit out of her. But that's kind of the philosophy I want you guys to have. If you're there to do game, and you've decided this is how you're going to spend your night, then commit fully to it. Don't have reservations. Don't have second thoughts. Don't be holding yourself back in the middle of the session. Make sense? Cool. Okay, so we have the desire, we have the technique, and also the desire builds the technique. We'll go back to the sports metaphor, right? There's desire to get to the ball in the game and desire to put your body on the line. And then there's also desire to learn the tactics to know how to get on the ball more often by being in the right position, right? And they're two different things. Right? One is in the moment desire, the other is out of the moment, pre-planned, figuring it out ahead of time desire. Right? And both are important if you want to get really good. And then the last is the strategy. The strategy is having a game plan around the desire. Because if you want the girl very much and you're very charismatic, but at the end of the night, you don't have a plan for where you're going to take her, or how you're going to get into the Uber, or what you're going to do when you get her back to your place, or how you're going to explain to her friends where you're going, then you're going to trip up all the time, right? So having the strategy and the game plan helps. Or things like, do you have alcohol back at your place? So that, there's a plausible reason for her to come in for a drink as opposed to, do you just want to come in for sex, right? All these little things, they're 1% here, 1% there, but all this planning is all part of it. And again, why do you bother with the planning? Desire. Why do you bother buying alcohol before you go out so it's ready? It's because you actually want to get laid. Because it's a minor inconvenience. It's not a big deal, but it's a minor inconvenience. You get lazy and not do it, right? Why do you carry condoms in your pocket? Because you're planning on getting laid, not just hoping it will happen, right? And we're going to just assume you all use condoms because it's a good idea. But the point is, if you're not planning to succeed, you are by exclusion planning to fail by not doing it, right? And you want to be strategizing. But again, why do you do it? It all comes down to desire. Why do you buy an apartment with good logistics? Because you want to get laid. It would be easier to get the cheaper apartment way out of the city. But if you want to have hot girlfriends coming into your life on a regular basis, there is a motivation for making a little bit extra money, working a little extra hard, and having a place right next to the nightclub. Now, do you have to do that? No. There's a ton of other options, et cetera. But the fact that you're at least considering stuff like that, the fact that you're at least trying to do things like that? Desire. Or when you walk out the door in the morning, not knowing you're going to do game, but knowing that you might, because you are a man who likes women and you are a man who's working on game, do you bother to dress and look your best? Or do you go walk out looking like a schlub and then you have an excuse to not do the approach when the time comes, right? All these things snowball, right? All the strategic decisions you made at the start of the day snowball into the difference in opportunities later on, right? It all comes from desire. But there's, again, that desire in the moment, and then there's all the pre-programmed, pre-planning, well-thought-out desire. And I want you guys to have both, right? And again, desire will get you even with, like, the average horny dude, and that's the bare minimum. Like, there's no excuse for less than that, right? If I was your mean high school football coach, I'd be like, there's no fucking excuse. Do you guys even want it? Like, you're embarrassing me on the field. Like, there's that level. And then there's executing the play, getting the timing right, learning the playbook, that kind of stuff. Okay, so those are the 3 levels I want you guys to get to. And a lot of my material does focus on levels 2 and 3. It focuses a lot on technique. It focuses a lot on strategy, because that's the part that's hard to learn on your own. But all of that in the world without the underlying desire is not going to get you very far. So that's why I keep focusing on desire for you guys.
What do you do about that? How do you get horny?
Well, there's all kinds of things you can do.
Yeah, work out, and my testosterone was
Sure, yeah, working out helps, testosterone helps. You can take certain supplements which help if you want to. There's things like maca, things like horny goat weed, literally called horny goat weed.
Really?
Yeah. That can help. This one I'm not recommending because it's actually a prescription thing, but I did it by accident one time. It's just if you were to take like Cialis or whatever. When I was actually living in LA, I had a month where I slept with 22 new girls in a month. What happened basically was like when I slept with the first one, I like took Cialis and I was horny for 72 hours. And so I would call up the other girls in my phone and I'd go online and match with other girls, and then I'd have another girl come over and I'd make sure whatever. So I kept consistently taking a decent amount of Cialis throughout the month. I was horny a lot of the time. And so that forced me to but it encouraged me to follow up with other girls after one girl had left. And I slept, again, 22 new girls in a month. But the other thing you can do is just remind yourself of your why, right? Why do you really want a girl in your life? What do you really want from a girl? Allow yourself to stop and fantasize a little bit. For various guys, this is not a thing I personally do, but a lot of guys swear by it, is things like swearing off porn, doing nofap, that kind of stuff can increase your horniness. I think everybody has like kind of a natural biological set point for a lot of different behaviors, right? Some guys are not very horny inherently, and so things like supplements and this kind of stuff and things like nofapping and whatnot can increase their horniness. And things like encouraging themselves to like actually look at girls and objectify them a little can increase their horniness. Some guys are like way too horny and like to the horny to the point where they get thirsty horny, or they get like the needy horny. And so for those guys, there's the alternative advice, which people say like, jerk off before you go on a date so you're not as like not all thirsty, right? That's the complete opposite of, nofap. And I think that everybody has a natural set point with various things. And some people with not just with horniness, but like maybe energy, right? Some people caffeine would make their game better because it makes them more awake and alert. Other people caffeine would make them jittery and make their game worse. So you need to find your own personal kind of where you're at with those kind of things. But having real legitimate desire and having a why, a congruent why, so that again, there's no foot on the gas, foot on the brake thing, right? Like you have to decide like on a given night, would you rather get some sleep and have a more pleasant day the next day, or would you rather meet a girl who could be amazing? And most of the time, I would hope the answer is the girl. There may be some days, and this is completely fine, if you're on 4 days no sleep, it may be that you're like, honestly, fucking for real, I'll take the sleep tonight. But hopefully 3 days out of 4, you're like, give me the girl, right? And if that's not the case, maybe structure your life so you get more sleep, take some more days off. Probably not healthy to be that tired all the time. And also your why, right? If you truly believe that, you could meet this girl, there could be a future, it could be something beautiful, you're gonna have a lot stronger desire. If you think that you're just gonna go in there, have bad sex and never see her again, maybe your desire is gonna be less. So having your life planned in such a way that, let's say you meet a girl in a foreign country, right? Dude, you have access to airplanes. You could get her around, you could fly back to that country. There are things you could do, but you need to like not be like, oh, this is fatalistic and can never go anywhere and pointless. If you think it's pointless, of course you're not gonna be motivated to do it. That makes sense? Or like, this is what I'm guilty of. If you can call it guilty. Let's say that I'm traveling out of a city and I'm not gonna be back in a while, and I am gonna have an obligation where I can't pull the girl. Sometimes I don't wanna do the approach because I'm like, I'm gonna take a phone number and then I'm gonna like, it's gonna be 6 months or a year or never till I'm back in this girl's city. Whereas that exact same girl, if I knew I was staying another day and could pull, you better believe I'm in on that one. But you have to figure that out. You have to figure out your own game plan. But yeah, the desire and the why does matter as well. If you've never pulled, you're not going to see that as a possibility to pull, right? So here's the thing. Like you guys, you see a girl waiting for an Uber at the end of the night and you're like, no point. I see her waiting for an Uber at the end of the night and I remember the 10 times that I've hopped in a cab, hopped in an Uber and pulled a girl in that situation, probably more than 10, but at least 10, right? Where that's happened. So because that's a possibility for me, because that exists in my brain, I have the desire to do it. That makes sense? Yeah. Or if you've never walked into a situation with one guy and 2 girls and pulled that girl, you're like, oh fuck, it's intimidating, there's a guy there. I've done that so many, countless amounts of times, and I've realized that a lot of times the guy becomes your best friend and it's super easy. And so I can equate back to dozens of successes and dozens of amazing sexual experiences and even great relationships that came from that kind of thing. I have a much stronger. So yeah, having the imagination to believe it's possible helps. That's why actually back in the day, even things like reading field reports, even if it had never happened for me, I'd read a field report of happening for somebody else or them trying something, and then I believed it was possible, and that was enough to get me to do it, and then I got the success, and then I had my own reference experience. But yeah, the belief or imagination of how it could happen, for sure. And be willing, by the way, be willing to put yourself in an awkward, funny situation, right? If you hop in a cab with a girl at the end of the night, drive half an hour with her, you get out of the cab, she goes into her place, and you have to take that awkward cab back for half an hour, don't be sad about that. Treat that as a fun, interesting learning experience and a good story. And that you got closer than you did the last time and you learned something from it, right? Because that will happen sometimes.
You get in a cab and drive with her to her place?
Yeah, that's what he did last night pretty much, yeah. The fact is you'll get what you want. If you want to avoid awkwardness, you'll get it. If you want to get success, you'll get it, right? And which one do you want more? Do you want the success more or do you want avoiding awkwardness more? So number 1, give yourself permission to be a man. Give yourself permission to want sex. Don't be this politically correct guy that's going to pretend you don't want sex or try and convince yourself you don't. There's a great old school game phrase, which is make no apologies for my desires as a man, right? That's a great mentality to have. You're a man, you have desires, you like sex, and there is nothing fucking wrong with that whatsoever. Embrace that, own it. And then just from there, be really, really honest with yourself and ask yourself, is what I'm doing the best or at least a good move to get me to my goals, right? Am I doing this out of a desire to succeed or am I doing this out of a desire to protect my ego? Am I doing this out of a desire to succeed or a desire to avoid awkwardness? Am I doing this out of a desire to succeed or out of laziness? And if you can legitimately answer it's a desire to succeed, then it's the right move, right? And that's where you should you should derive your ego, your self-esteem from a series of making the right decisions, making the right moves, loving yourself and treating yourself with that respect. And then, legitimately find your why. Think of all the reasons why you want an amazing girl in your life and be scared of not. What you should be really terrified is not getting rejected by a girl. You should be really terrified of 5 years from now not having made progress and not having gotten the girls you deserve into your life. That's the really scary prospect. Or the really scary prospect is fucking dying alone, right? Because you never found or attracted a girl that was up to a standard reasonable for you. That's fucking scary. Getting rejected by a girl, that's laughable, right? But you got to get your priorities in order, right? The desire and self-love has to trump the things holding you back. It has to trump your egoic problems. It has to trump your desire to avoid awkwardness. It has to trump your personal fear. It has to trump whatever limiting beliefs you have, right? And so if you notice it's not, do some of the inner work on that. Take supplements if you need to. Allow yourself to embrace your desires. But each of those little things, it's basically a scale, right? You want to weigh down, that you want the desire and self-love side of the scale to be massively heavy and the other side to be basically empty. And you can continually take things off of this scale or add things onto this scale. And every little bit helps.